Hi guys, and welcome to yet another episode of my newsletter. So this is the fourth time converting from the PDF format to the video format. So let's talk about what happened in the first quarter of 2022. Alright, so let's talk about what happened in the HDB market. So as you have known by now, 4 blocks in Ang have been selected to undergo the selective all-block redevelopment scheme. So what exactly is SURS about? So SURS is the equivalent of the HDB all-block, which the HDB will appoint a private valuer to assess the value of your home and will be compensated accordingly. And after that, you will also be given an opportunity to buy a brand new HDB in the same area with a fresh 99-year lease. That's why whenever a SURS is announced, HDB owners will be very glad to be able to own a new HDB with a fresh 99-year lease. Alright, so this is the first time in the last 4 years where a couple of blocks have been identified to undergo the HDB on-block scheme. So personally on the ground, I've seen that a few buyers are also speculating which other areas where HDB will go on-block as an investment option. But personally, I feel that it's not a very viable option to always look at HDB as an investment option, and why do I say that? So let's take the Ang example, right? So the 4 blocks have been identified. It will only be 4 years later which they will move into their new flat, which will then have a fresh 99-year lease. So they will still have to fulfill a 5-year MOP period before they are able to offload the flat for about 250k to 300k profit. So we'll spend a total of 9-year timeline before they're able to realize a 200 to 300k profit. So if you explore other investment strategies, such as investing in a private property, they will be able to reap you the same return in a shorter timeline. Nevertheless, SURS is always a good news for HDB owners because they're able to get a new flat with a fresh 99-year lease. Right, so if we look at other HDB news, prices in the HDB market continue to rise, but it's predominantly led by the 5 rooms and the executive apartments, which are the bigger unit types. So if we compare quarter on quarter, the 5-room flat actually rise 2.6%, whereas the executive apartments actually rise 2.8%. However, if you look at the smaller unit types such as the 3-room, it only rose by 2.3%, and the 2-room flats remain the same. So what we can tell from this data is that a lot of the demand actually falls in the unit types that are bigger. So when we look at the profile of buyers looking at the larger room types, so these buyers actually fall into 2 categories. So firstly will be the BTO upgraders, and secondly, condo owners who actually bought the condominium as their first purchase and now need a bigger space. So if you recall in my last newsletter, I would say that the HDB rise in prices will predominantly be led by older flats with a bigger room type, and this is also correct, yes. If we look at quarter to quarter, what actually happened was that a lot of transactions happened in the non-virtual estate, such as Bukit Batok, Bukit Panjang, Yishun, Sembawang, Punggol, and Sengkang. So these areas actually offer more 5-room units and executive apartments. Right, so let's talk about the condo market. After the increase in prices last year by 12% in 2021, the question on everybody's mind today is that will 2022 still see the same scenario? If we look at February, because of the Chinese New Year, sales volume actually dropped drastically, but March tells a very different story. In fact, March sales volume actually increased by 35.6%, and majority of it is led in the OCR region. So we're actually coming to the end of the first quarter, so let's analyze the price movement after the announcement of the cooling measures in December. So if we look at Singapore as a whole and break down into different segments, majority of the transactions actually happen in the OCR region compared to the RCR and the CCR region. So a lot of the demand is still driven by genuine home buyers, where 62% of the home transactions actually happen in the OCR region and only 13% actually happen in the CCR region. Even with the announcement of the cooling measures in December, I do not see the prices of the OCR region coming down anytime soon for these 4 regions. So first and foremost, interest rate is poised to rise in the next 2 years, so I've seen more and more home buyers locking in their purchase early. Secondly, the upcoming new launch supply is also insufficient to feed the HDB upgraders, and you can see that more than 20,000 units is going to reach its MOP status this year. And thirdly, we will see lesser and lesser multi-generational homes as more young couples are motivated to stay away from their parents to actually further induce demand. And last but not least, the cooling measures actually does not affect genuine home buyers, and ABS is only increased for multiple property owners and for foreigners. So the OCR region will actually see a continued increase in the next 2 years. So if you are a property investor looking to buy a home in the next 1 or 2 years, the core central region might be a venue which you can potentially find your next value buy at. And why do I say that? Because of the cooling measures, it primarily affects multiple homeowners and also foreigners. So generally, as a seller in the core central region, they might find their listing will take a little bit longer to move, and therefore they might have a little bit more realistic price expectations. They might be able to find your value by there. Right, so we are almost coming to the end of the e-newsletter, but let's talk about the current new launches in the market. So North Gaia Executive Condominium actually showed 27% of the launch day, and also integrated development in Farrer Park called Piccadilly Grand. So we are looking for one bedroom unit for investment. Piccadilly Grand is something that you might want to consider. As a neighboring development, Chinese residential actually sold a one bedroom recently at 20th floor for 1.08 million. So Piccadilly Grand offers its one bedroom starting from 1.056 million, and you might be able to find a value by there. So another development landmark we will consider is called Liv MB and Mountbatten. So the one bedroom layout is very unique because it allows you to have an exposable kitchen and it does not have a balcony. So what this means is it allows you a bigger living and dining area. Alright, we actually come to the end of the e-newsletter. So we have watched all the way to this point. Thank you so much. So if you do like what I've said, so do consider hitting the like button and also subscribing to my channel to actually see more and more content from myself, right? So we have come to the end of the newsletter. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you and bye bye.